Sunday evenings in Johannesburg never felt particularly special to me, not for the weather or the lazy hum of traffic fading into the dusk, not for the cricket chirping past our barred windows. No, it was Sunday dinners at my parents' house that made these hours thorny. In my family, the act of breaking bread meant the opening of old wounds, a side dish to the mealy pap and roast chicken. That Sunday I arrived late. The taxi I'd caught from Yeovil had crawled through city gridlock, my hands sweating around my battered backpack jammed with notebooks and dreams. I could already picture everyone arranged around Ma's scuffed wooden table, the unsettlement in their stance whenever I entered a room. As I pushed open the front door, I caught Ma's voice trailing off in the dining room, a sotto voce melody of complaint. The house smelled of bay leaves and scorched rice. I walked into the kitchen and fixed my face, ready to play dutiful son or at least pretend. When I entered the room, no one stood up. Baba, hunched over his half-full castle lager, flicked his eyes upward and then back to his hands. Musa, my older brother, made a show of moving the plush seat to make space for his girlfriend. Aunties clustered at one end, forming an impenetrable blockade of floral dresses, each with a plate nestled atop impressive stomachs. I slid gingerly into my seat at the far end. Musa cocked an eyebrow at me. "Our resident visionary," he said too loudly. The table broke into polite chuckles, safe laughter. "You're late, Sainal," Ma said, forcing tenderness through gritted teeth. "You never learn shame." I murmured my apology. From across the table, Auntie Nalwazi sliced the air with her fork, her sherry-glazed eyes settling on me. "So, Sainal, your mama tells us you turned down that job at the bank. Again, is this true?" My stomach clenched, the muscles in my jaw set hard as granite. Baba's eyes finally met mine, small, searching, and so tired. "I did," I said. "Zai, are you mad, Sainal?" Musa interrupted. "People would kill for that job, man. It's not as if you're raking in millions making those, what do you call them, YouTube videos." "Documentaries," I corrected, the word heavy and suddenly ridiculous. Ma's voice pinched and delicate. "He calls it art, Musa." "Aish, art that doesn't pay rent," Auntie Zainal muttered. I perched my elbows on the table, desperate to plant my feet somewhere. "I'm telling stories that need to be told." "Our stories." Laughter flickered around the table, not open ridicule, but that dismissive snort that stings more. Musa leaned forward, his voice low and scalding. "Bro, there are a million kids shooting videos on their phones. Only the special ones win awards and get on TV. Are you that special, honestly?" Heat flooded my cheeks, the rice on my plate blurred into soft white noise. I spoke with all the conviction I could muster. "I want to make something that matters, it's not about money." Baba cut across, his voice as brittle as his knuckles. "Don't make a mockery of your mother's hard work." Ma's jaw trembled. I saw the fear in her eyes, the terror that I might never find sure footing, never build a family home, never become the pillar she and the neighbors prayed for. In that moment, anger burst inside me like a flare. The memory of sneaking out to shoot sunrise over Hillbrow Tower, of missing curfew because I'd spent hours hauling my patched-up camera around a dangerous corner, of all the times I went hungry to pay for editing software. I wanted to spit it all out in a single, cleansing roar. But I held it back, bottling it into serenity born from exhaustion. The room fell silent, every clink of cutlery amplified in the hush. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked. I looked around, absorbing their skepticism, the mild resentment, the pulsing expectation that I would bow, apologize, step back into the fold. But I didn't. "I'm not giving up," I said quietly. No one replied, no one had to. I forced the food down and wiped my mouth with a trembling napkin. That night as I left, Ma followed me to the rusty gate. Her hands trembled as she reached for mine. "Son," she whispered, "you must think of your future. Dreams don't put food on the table. Dreams don't buy bricks." I looked into her eyes. In the orange puddle of streetlight, I saw resignation stretching back 10 generations, grandparents who never had the chance to dream. "I have to try, Ma," I said. She said nothing, only nodded once, sharp and small. The next 3 years bruised me in new ways. Johannesburg can wash away your courage drip by drip, rain by acid rain. My life was all rented rooms, shared taxis, and hustling odd gigs, shooting weddings in Vosloorus, corporate bios for tech startups in Sandton, anything that paid for half a loaf of bread and a few precious minutes online. I told myself I was building something. I'd wake before dawn, open my laptop on the cracked Formica table in whatever flat I was subletting, and edit until my eyes ached. Sometimes I filmed interviews in taxis. Sometimes I followed activists rallying for housing rights, shooting handheld, weaving between police lines as rubber bullets sparred with protest chants. The city never softened. One night I was mugged near the Pont Tower, lost my battered camera and my sense of security in the same moment. I took it personally. The next day I begged an old classmate for a loan, bought a used Canon so scratched it looked like it had survived 3 wars. Money sometimes came in trickles, sometimes not. Grant applications, festival submissions, freelance gigs that paid months late. Making a life on dreams is a slow death by paperwork. When I did visit home, I kept my stories vague, my optimism hollowed out by exhaustion. My family never asked. I let them believe I was temping somewhere safe and sensible. It wasn't all suffering. Some days Johannesburg gleamed like a promise. One afternoon I filmed Gogo Maziko, 90 years old, as she gardened beneath a string of washing in Soweto. She sang to me about lost children and the patience of waiting for rain. I edited that footage late into the night, Gogo's voice woven through drum beats and the roar of distant taxis. The film, *Rain is Coming*, began as a patchwork just 5 minutes. I uploaded it to every festival I could find. Weeks passed, I stopped checking my inbox. Then, in October, an email arrived from a tiny festival in Denmark. They wanted to screen it. Later, another from a national broadcaster in Nigeria. Interest came in waves, small, strange, thrilling. I began mapping my city, not as a place to survive, but as a subject to be witnessed. I met more filmmakers, everyone hustling, everyone as broke and certain as me. We shot and edited in icebox back rooms, sharing equipment, advice, and cheap beer. Still, none of that insulated me from the old ache. Every time the grants ran out or a gig flopped, I saw my mother's imploring eyes. How long could I pretend resilience was enough? It was the 4th year, just as hope was thinning to a filament, that the break came. I had submitted my longest piece, Streets Unwritten *, to a documentary showcase in France. It examined inner-city displacement, focusing on a family evicted from a hijacked building in Berea. I didn't expect to hear anything, but on a sticky September morning the email came. Not only had they accepted it, it had been nominated for the top prize. I almost didn't believe it. The sponsors offered a paid trip. They put my name, my actual name, Sainal Mthembu, on a banner. I left Johannesburg in a daze, flying to Paris on an airline ticket so expensive I felt ashamed handing it to the check-in agent. In Paris, the crowd was polite, mostly indifferent, except when the credits rolled. There was genuine silence, then applause. Later, journalists asked questions about Johannesburg, about making art in a city unraveling at the seams. For 2 weeks I didn't pay for a single meal. I walked with a straight back, for once neither invisible nor an imposter. When I finally returned to South Africa, the world seemed lighter. Editors who'd ignored me before now wanted meetings. The SABC aired my film. Emails from young filmmakers asking for mentorship flooded my inbox. I was even asked to shoot a commercial for health insurance, of all things. It felt like a small betrayal, trading stories for slogans, but the money was real, crisp, and transformative. With the SABC screening fee and the commercial, I paid off my debts and sent half the remainder home. For the first time, I could afford my own place, a converted studio in Maboneng, the windows facing the city lights. Still, the thought of home sat fuzzy and sharp in my chest. My family knew only muffled rumors. I hadn't been back since the big news. Part of me wanted to gloat, to arrive with a camera crew, show them the festival trophies. But mostly I was scared. Success is fragile in my city. One wrong move and the walls close back in. But Ma called at the end of summer, a birthday, a family gathering, the usual excuse. This time I said yes. The taxi ride through Bellevue East on that Sunday afternoon felt different, like moving through an old film reel I'd already cut 100 times. I carried my camera bag, lighter now, and a manila folder stuffed with clippings and USPs. A breeze pulled at my shirt, lifting faint traces of jacaranda. My parents' house looked unchanged, pale paint peeling, a satellite dish rusting into the sky, the mango tree out front armored in plastic bags. Music drifted faintly from a neighbor's yard. I took a long breath and knocked. Ma opened the door, incredulous and breathless. She hugged me longer than usual, hands patting my shoulders as if checking for broken bones. Inside, the table was laid for a celebration. Aunties, cousins, Musa already pouring drinks. Even Baba wore a pressed shirt. Musa cracked a grin, a gentle one this time. Look who returned, Mr. Paris himself. They chuckled. I smiled, tension fluttering low in my belly. As we ate, lamb stew this time, conversations circled and darted. I said little, watching the faces that had written my old wounds. After dessert, as the laughter settled, Ma stood and smoothed her dress. Sanal has brought something for us, family film night, he says. I plugged my USB into the television, flickering with static. My hands trembled as I queued up Street's unwritten asterisk. I stepped back, folding my arms across my chest to hide the shiver. The living room darkened as I pressed play. Gogo Maziko's voice filled the space, steadier now, her story unfurling on-screen, scenes of children weaving through concrete, sunlight slicing over battered apartments, city council meetings unraveling in shouts and tears. My parents watched, faces etched with the gravity of the city they thought they knew. Midway, Musa leaned forward, hands wrapped tight around his knees. Auntie Nalwazi dabbed at her eyes. Baba, stone-faced all my life, let out a long, ragged breath. In the final minute the credits rolled, the festival laurel shining beside my name. The room was silent. Something had shifted, electric and fragile. Auntie Zainal, always so sharp, turned to me. You made this, Zainal? She wasn't mocking now, I nodded. Baba cleared his throat, his voice catching. That's our city. I never saw it like that. Even Musa, all bravado slashed away, said, Bro, I didn't know we had people like you. Ma came to stand beside me, her hand gripping mine, trembling but proud. My son, she whispered almost to herself, you did it. And just like that, it was real. They saw not just proof, my name in those scrolling white letters, the festival laurels, but the weight of years, the hunger, the rage, the city singing its wicked hymns, all pressed into something that mattered. We ate cake under the sharp glare of the kitchen bulb, all of us alive, all of us changed a little bit. Baba poured himself another beer and didn't scold me for refusing. Ma pressed a wrapped box into my hands, a notebook leather-bound blank as hope. Outside, the city pressed in, the twin lights of Hillbrow Tower blinking, the jacarandas crooning softly in the dark. I walked home later, newly unburdened, feeling the pain and love braided into the act of returning. I had left, struggled, made it out. And now that I had built something, now that I had let them see, I realized the real success was this. The door never closed behind me. As the house faded behind me, its yellow windows bright against the night, I tucked the new notebook under my arm. The dreams I carried were no longer ridiculous. They were rooted, real, blooming in the city that made me.